All right, good evening, everyone. We will officially begin this workshop here at 5 p.m. And if you notice, we have someone filling in for Councilman Oplager, and this is our mayor for the day, Lydia Kennard. And so she's going to be joining us during the workshop. We're going to have her kick off the regular meeting, and then once we get into the nitty-gritty, she's going to join you guys out there in the audience. So her and I met last year, about a year and a half ago or so, and the first thing she tells me is that she wants to be mayor one day. So this has been a long time coming to work this out, so we're excited to have you join us, Lydia. The first item that we have on the workshop is discussion on the Alvin ISD playground accessibility. I believe we have some representatives here from the school district. If y'all want to come forward and share with us, Dan, is there anything you'd like to introduce about this item?
Well, just, I guess, as Matt and Rory, come on up. You know, you want to come up and visit. So we've been meeting, I guess, on a regular basis for the last 2 years or so now, and just this most recent time when we were talking about playground equipment, and specifically the playground going in behind City Hall, and kind of what kind of equipment we wanted to have back there. And Matt reminded me of something that probably not everyone knows about. So I was like, that's a great thing. Why don't we just go ahead and say that out loud so that our council knows, and so do all of our citizens. So.
Yeah, so we've had a great partnership with all the city entities and Alvin ISD, and for a long time we've been having routine meetings with both Dan and Dan, just talking about the ins and outs of our businesses and how we can help. So for years we've been talking with each city entity about the public using our playgrounds during off-peak hours. Obviously, when school's in session, we have certain safety protocols. We follow those, but after hours, nights, weekends, holidays, spring breaks, fall breaks, all the breaks that we have, as well as summer, we open those playgrounds for public use. We do the same thing for our junior high tracks and football fields. The high schools we do keep locked down for safety reasons and things like that, but we want to offer as much service to our properties as we can when we can. So we've been doing it for a while with success. So the only time we do close them down is if we see vandalism and we have to repair things. But other than that, it's been pretty seamless, and the city of Manvel is no exception. So E.C. Mason, Don Jeter, Bennett. So.
And whenever he mentioned that, which is just tremendous, because I think a lot of people just assume, you know, that they're either locked up or that they're trespassing in some way. They don't want to go on to the playground equipment. So I just didn't know if that many people actually use it. I think you mentioned, Tammy had mentioned during the Easter festivities too, that it would probably be helpful right there at E.C. Mason, because okay, we've done our Easter egg hunt, now the kids want to go play. Well, there's a great playground right there. So
our facility coordinator does a great job kind of organizing all those events. So just giving her a call. You guys have my number. Just give me a buzz. I can put you in touch with her. She does a great job helping organize the events, and we're a big proponent of working with the cities.
Perfect.
That's great. A question that I would have is just from a liability insurance aspect. Let's say a kid or an adult is playing and happens to get hurt. Is that something that the school district is liable for? Or is it a play at your own risk type situation?
It's a play at your own risk scenario.
Yeah. Awesome. Council, any comments or questions? Miss Lydia, any comments or questions? No? Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. You guys keep doing great things at the school district.
Thank you.
Next, we have a presentation by KB Homes on potential development on Scott Avenue. Dan, I'll turn this over to you first and the team, and then I believe that we might have someone that is here to present for us tonight.
Thank you, Mayor and Mayor, both of you. So this we've only had one chance, I guess, to talk to KB about this particular proposed development, and that's right now they're just speculating, I guess, on what could be done on this property. This was going to come to you on your next meeting in March, but the workshop that we had planned for tonight wasn't able. They weren't quite ready just yet. So KB asked if they could come to this one instead. So it worked out great because we had a vacancy. So Yep, we've got Ryan out here. Yep. If you want to come on up and just, again, this is very, very preliminary. I don't think they've closed on the property or anything like that. They're just really wanted to, this is one of those, you know, it's going to require rezoning, of course, if they were to actually do this project. So we thought it would be a great idea to talk to council before they get too far into the weeds. I mean, there are a lot of nuances with the site and how to get utilities to the site and everything. So this is very broad brush right now.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Ryan Hayden. I'm a senior land acquisition manager, KB Home. We've previously met in the last month or so with city and staff on this particular site for a potential single-family residential community. A little bit of logistics, just kind of taking a look at it. It's in somewhat close proximity to city utilities. It is within the city of Manvel. And would require a density change. It is of zoned residential, but it would require a density change. So we just wanted to talk to mayor and council about the opportunity that we feel like the one way to bring this opportunity to the city is through the creation of a MUD. So we did want to talk about that. With it being in the city, it's going to require city consent. On this, we see it's about 65 acres. We'd be looking at probably 140 lots or so. I'm thinking after a land planning plus 5 or 10, 5%, 10% plus or minus from that, but somewhere around 140. Our first on-site activities probably wouldn't take place until around year end of this year. And then we would anticipate our first delivery sometime around Q3 2028. So we would envision adhering to the ordinance or 60-foot lot widths is what we would be looking at, 120 feet deep, encompassing by that time you get about 140 lots. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you being here.
Mr. Del Bello here to, talk to y'all about, we're in the process of putting it under contract, because I have it listed. And I have Jimmy Del Bello and Steve right here. I thought that, you would want to understand how the property is. It's an undivisible 65 acres that has to be sold all at one time. It can't be divided up. Their grandfather handed it down to his descendants, which are all deceased now, and then now they're all in their 70s, and they need this property to sell and to move. So they would like to give strong consideration towards, working with KB Homes to get it developed.
Thank you so much. Yeah, if we have any questions for anybody in the audience, we'll make sure to have them come forward and we'll ask those questions. But I appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Palmer. Council, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Ryan tonight? Well, Ryan, I'll go ahead and start. Are you going to be asking for any incentives from the city?
Currently not, really just looking for a zoning variance. And then we would look at some type of utility coordinations to extend the line, the length, sort of that length. The lines terminate on Masters Lane there, so we would look to coordinate with the city on trying to extend along Scott Avenue heading west to reach the site.
Now, you said zoning variance. Are you going to ask for any other variances as it relates to streets, utilities, anything like that?
We've been in discussions with city staff on the perimeter road ordinance. That's the only one I could see us potentially discussing going forward.
Okay.
And Mayor, if I could just qualify, so not necessarily a zoning variance, but a rezoning, right? Because right now it's zoned open single-family residential with a minimum 1 acre lot, so they would want the single-family residential zone.
It's just not changing the use.
Okay. For the MUD specifically, how much debt are you looking for the MUD to authorize at the get-go?
So we would go by, our analysis right now is just having, typical city of Manvel numbers. We're not asking for anything additional. I think right now it's 80 cents or something like that. I can give you the details of what we have.
So an 80 cents tax rate for the MUD, and that would be contained to specifically your development, not encompassing any of the surrounding properties?
That is correct.
Okay. And then how much debt are you looking to authorize from the get-go? Do you have that number? Not yet? Okay. Now, right-of-way acquisition. Scott near Dalmelin currently is not a city right-of-way. It's an easement. I know you mentioned that you're going to be looking possibly for a variance to the roads. Those roads are already very narrow. They are not built to sustain, let's say, 140 lots. You have 2 to 3 vehicles per lot coming in and out every day. 280 to, let's say, upwards of 350 vehicles. Are you going to be acquiring any additional right-of-way, road improvements, and how do you plan to address that easement that's not a right-of-way?
We would do a traffic impact analysis and follow the recommendations.
Okay, and that hasn't been done yet because
It
you're
has not
still
been
very
done.
preliminary.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Now, drainage obviously is another big item, not just because you have to contain drainage inside of the property, but all the surrounding properties through an agreement made 10 years ago with the city currently drain onto your property and then funnel to the bayou.
That's correct.
Have you thought about how you're going to address that?
Very preliminarily, I will tell you that we will follow Atlas 14 regulations for drainage, those standards have been established post-Hurricane Harvey. All of our communities follow Atlas 14.
Okay. And are you looking at improving the roadside ditches where your property borders the roads?
That'll probably come out in our drainage plan, which will be approved and submitted for city review, and as part of Atlas 14, whatever they're going to require.
Okay. And then I see here, it doesn't look like you actually border up to the cemetery. You actually don't. The property based off of that, the land that you're going to purchase does not border Cemetery Road at all. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
All of our frontage is on Scott Avenue.
Okay. So for utilities, I guess you would run them further up Masters and then send them east along Scott to get to yours?
That's the preliminary plan, yes, sir.
Okay. Have you put any thought towards how you're going to address, I know you said traffic impact analysis, but right now for people that need to exit Scott, turning north or south on Masters, you're waiting there sometimes 15, 20 minutes in the morning and the evenings. How do you plan to address that? Because that's going to be a big quality of life impact for the residents if this development goes through.
Understood. We'd probably have that incorporated into our TIA analysis as well.
Okay. Asking these questions, making sure I understand the full scope of it. I know Councilman Oplager sent me his comments, and one of the big things for him is the streets. A good example of that is, well, it's more lots, but on the map you can see it, Lakeland here to the west, the impact that has had on Dogwood, Tankersley, Charlotte, Lewis, all of those surrounding roads has been, in my opinion, catastrophic. Because they were not built to sustain the capacity that they're now asked to sustain. If you guys look to do a road variance, to me, and I know Councilman Oplager shared this, that's a non-starter for us. Because these roads are, I know you would only have responsibility to do the roads that border your development, but you have Scott Street as a whole, and it's very narrow. So that's a big concern that I have. For me, as I've thought a lot about this, keeping an open mind to it, we just adopted our 20-year strategic plan. And our strategic plan calls for keeping the rural areas rural and looking to have development closer to 6 and to 288. And it feels like this is contrary to what we're looking to do within that strategic plan. For the development that you're wanting, the 60-foot, 60 by 120, there are definitely areas within our city for that. But for me personally, I don't feel like this is the right area for that.
Okay.
That's where my thoughts are right now. So, council, any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards that too. Just recent discussion bears on most of that area right now is 1 acre lots. So I'm just not sure that's the right place for the current 60-foot subdivision type lots.
Okay.
I really wish you would have come in and said 1 acre lots or at the minimum half acre lots. I'm worried about the traffic, really, in the roads. The drainage, I think you can end up helping the area if it's done right. Because right now that's a swamp right there where you're at, and we've all seen pictures of what happened during Harvey when the bio did that. Was there any thought of, you said retention ponds, is that part of that northern part?
There's been initial preliminary discussions of potentially using that. We would have to really, our engineers would have to look at it more, but that is the initial takeaway, yes.
And is there any initial mitigation of our studies to make sure about what's there underneath the dirt right now?
That would be done during our due diligence period.
I mean, nothing that you know of right now, though?
I'm told there's a well. There may be a well on site, but that's part of real estate development in Texas. So it's actually kind of a little bit out of the way.
There's only one gas line that's towards the back of the property. And it is active. There's a landman that comes on there to treated, but it's at the back of the property.
I mean, that's my worries is the traffic really. I mean, both exits out of here, either going towards Masters or going back towards Highway 6 are pretty heavy right now. And I know they're being used as cut-throughs because of problems out on 288, but
The
I just,
problem with that property is that it's undivisible, so it's going to just sit there as 65 acres unless you have one person that comes along that can afford to buy it and maybe put a ranch on it. But I've had it listed since 2018, and that has yet to happen. When I was doing my due diligence as a realtor, I went to land acquisitioners such as Ryan, which is how I got my name, to be able to sell the property. And, just until now, when Manvel's continued to develop, has he been able to come in and, look at doing this? I don't see much use for one person to come in and buy an undivisible piece of property on 65 acres that's going to put in a ranch. Right now, it's, just an ag exemption with cattle on it, but they're all in their 70s and they would like to sell their property, and it looks like a builder is only going to be the one that's going to be able to afford to buy, and do anything with it. You can't just come in and buy different pieces of it. It can't be devised.
And and that's great insight, Ms. Palmer. Let's make sure to keep the conversation for up here for who's at the podium. And council, if we want to hear from anybody within the audience, then we can call them forward to ask them questions. But I want to make sure that we maintain that structure to this meeting. But thank you for that insight.
On that note, I have questions.
Thank you, Councilman. And one thing I want to say, Mayor Pro Tem, real quick. Ryan, thank you for coming here. Staff, thank you for recommending this workshop. This is the way the process is supposed to work, because we don't want you guys to get all the way down the line, spend this time and this money just to be told no. And if it's
yeah, we
yes
wanna
now,
be
and there's an
upfront.
openness, you can take that feedback in now. I know I received a comment from somebody that they felt like council was bypassing PD&Z, or PD&Z didn't take a vote on this. But this is the process. It's you come forward, you get this initial feedback. If you guys want to move forward, then you would submit formal plans. At that point, it would go to PD&Z with a recommendation to ultimately to City Council, and there's a process to follow. So thank you for being here tonight, and staff, thank you for recommending this approach. Mayor Pro Tem?
Okay, I have a couple questions. Okay, so this is the first that I heard about this development, and I'm very thankful that we are able to get in front of it so that we can figure out, who's interested in the property. My heart and my sentiment has been to always protect the rural side of Manvel, because that's what our community has requested. That's what they have wanted. I have been a big proponent of, bringing the big development, bringing all of that on the other side of 288. Now, in retrospect, I did have a conversation with Dinah, and she did explain to me the family situation. And when she mentioned to me that they are the Delbellos and the Dalmalins, which are one of the biggest stakeholders of land here in the rural part of Manvel, which I haven't spoken with them, but I do have questions, and I'm glad we're able to do this in the open, because when I look at that right there, I drove by and I thought this land was further deep in. Now, it is less than a mile from Masters Road. Is Masters Road part of our big thoroughfare plan? It is. Okay. What other area around that does the city have on that 20-year comprehension plan to develop to make accessible for roads and for growth?
Well, of course, just to the south of where Scott Street and Masters, that intersection, just to the south is our police station.
Okay.
Just to the north, in fact, you can kind of see where the dirt is kind of scratched off there.
Yeah.
Just to the north, that's our public works facility. So it wouldn't surprise me if their traffic, if they moved forward, for instance, if their traffic impact analysis didn't show that a traffic signal might be warranted at Scott, just because of how many things are going on right there. We're presuming that there's probably going to be one needed up at Del Bello already.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are the main two facilities. And then on the west side, so in other words, the corner of Dogwood and Masters, the school district actually owns that property. So they're contemplating on what they're going to put there. That I don't think they have any plans just yet, whether that be another school of some sort or an administrative facility, but they own that property right behind the fire station.
So what I hear you saying is that there is other growth and development around there, but
Yes, ma'am.
really what our stance as council is that we're trying to mitigate the damages, or as Mayor said, catastrophic damages to our drainage, to our roads, to our way of life, right? And also, when I drove around and I'm looking at what we have on the map, we have Lakeland. Lakeland's 53 acres of development on this side. And as soon as we developed Lakeland, the schools came, other businesses came. And then we have Councilman Bonner's right here. And so if we are opposed to all development, I would understand that on this side. I personally, I lived in a KB home, and that was my first home. It was my first time buyer's home. Thank God for that when I was in my 20s. Phenomenal builder. Reputation goes very far. However, I'm more interested in hearing if this does develop, because again, my stance is I would like us to have reasonable, measurable development, right? We can't stunt the growth, but I would rather be a part of the conversation rather than this entire council be gone in 5, 6, 7, 8 years and the next council just approves any and everything. That's kind of my idea. But also at the same time, I'm more interested if this family wants to sell their land and they all are agreeing to it, I don't think that we should stop that, but I do think that the city does have a say in how it's developed, a little bit. Also, the type of development in that area, I don't know that a KB subdivision and that the plans that were submitted complement what that area is. If you drive around there, you do see the beautiful 1 acre lots with the custom, developed homes. I mean, they're gorgeous. It's very beautiful, and it's. I'm proud to say, that's part of Manvel, rural Manvel. So I would recommend, or I would be happy if number one, all the criteria can be met, where we, instead of add catastrophic wear and tear to our city, complement the city, bring in drainage, bring in sidewalks, help the community, do all the things that benefit, not just come and say, hey, we're going to develop and make our money and leave. Historically, KB subdivisions, there's very few that stay very prestigious. A lot of the times they become rental homes. They cater to a different demographic. And so in order to preserve that would be something that we would want to see also, is what type of homes are we building? What is the income part of it? I know that sounds but at the end of the day, Manvel is not cheap to live in. And I know y'all want the biggest bang for your buck, but I would really like to protect that side, the rural side, so that it looks maybe ranch style, maybe beautiful, maybe half-acre lots. Is that something that you guys have considered or open to? Would it make business sense for you to still develop there and to maybe increase the lot size?
Yeah, so we don't do half-acre lots or acre lots. We don't have KB doesn't have a product for that. The 60-foot lots, and looking at some of when we go into an area, a particular sub-market, I mean, we try to mesh well with what's been done there. And there's some newer communities in Manvel that we look like we could put something up there that would be very much in line with that. And, I thought it was an opportunity. We thought it was an opportunity with 60-foot lots. We've had some other 60-foot lots communities down in Rosenberg that turned out really nice. So we thought that this was a good opportunity. It's a smaller site. It's not going to be 300, 350 lots. It's more like 140, and probably ends up shaking out a little bit less than that. So I thought this would actually kind of contribute to some of the size communities that are currently in Manvel, and would kind of blend in and match, and not sort of
not stick out like a sore thumb. I have a question for Councilman Bonner. How many acres is your neighborhood?
67 houses. I can't remember the exact acreage though.
And what's the lot size on that?
60 and 70.
60 and 70 square foot lots on there. But that's a very small.
Dan, do we know how many acres, or Joe's, how many acres Terrace leases?
I'll look it up.
I mean, just looking at the map right there, it's like
Somehow less than 30 sticking in my head.
less than 30. And how many homes do you guys have projected to?
For this one? Mm-hmm. 140 max, I believe. We'll have-
140?
When we do a further land plan and work drainage into it, and we're also going to, there's a little mitigation that's got to be, we also have to incorporate the amount of drainage that's coming through to the site, as was mentioned earlier.
Okay.
I think that's the max that you're looking at.
Okay, so that's all the questions I have for you, but I would like an opportunity to speak with the family since they did come, if that's something that we can do here during the workshop.
Let's see, we'll see if we have any other questions
Yeah.
for Ryan first.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan.
Council,
We can answer that question. It's 66 lots, 20 acres.
20 acres.
Yeah.
19, 20 acres. And then do we know how many Lakeland was? Because
53,
Lakeland's 53 acres?
which we both live in.
535 homes, something like
Okay,
that.
with 80-foot, how are they able to do that with 80-foot lots in Lakeland? If it's less, I guess the overall acreage here, because you have those juts kind of heading to the northeast that are essentially undevelopable.
It's going to lose some efficiency for sure,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to give the number that I think it would absolutely top out at.
Okay, absolutely.
One thing that they would have to contend with, obviously, is the floodplain and the floodway that they've got on this property. So you can't develop in the floodway. You can do some mitigation in the floodplain. So you'd probably see something like what we've got in Pomona or Sedona, where they've gone through and basically channelized the bayou itself. So that's Mustang right there. So they would get it up to its ultimate width that we have in our master drainage plan. And then, like I think somebody mentioned, they'd probably have their drainage on the north side because you just wouldn't be able to access it anymore then. So I think whoever, was that Keith that mentioned that ultimately the end result is that there's an improvement to the drainage. There's some issues with drainage that comes from 1128 down Scott Street to get to Mustang. There's sort of I called it a handshake easement. There's a way that the water gets there, but it's not a formal easement that we would be able to, and I think that was one of the very first things I mentioned to you.
Yeah, that's correct.
That we try and capture when they plat.
Councilman Bonner?
Just one thing I'd really love to have before we got to the point of saying yes or no to go to something like this is, what does that area out there, everything that's back to the east, I don't think there's not very many houses north of that at all that I can think of, maybe one or two here and there. But is the majority of the people out there, when we start talking about this rural, is there anybody else that's opposed to it right now?
Exactly. They own
I'd love to have what do we call them? Where we talk to all the people at one time, and just to get the feel for that. Because ultimately that's who we're affecting out there. Maybe there's other landowners out there that own stuff that are just like the Del Bellos, and they're going to be looking to sell. I like to stay with the bigger lots, but ultimately it's what do they want out there?
Manager?
So the process, they're asking for a couple of different things. So one is to create a MUD. So that would require council's consent. So there's going to be several public meetings and public hearings associated with that. But then also the rezoning itself requires a public hearing. So that's exactly and there'd be a public hearing at PD&Z. There'd be a public hearing here, most likely. So that's when everybody comes out. I have the opportunity for both sides. Most of the time that those have come through PD&Z, they get good intel, and well, I don't think everybody's here tonight, so then a lot of times those go on, so you might actually have an extra public hearing. But anyway, that's the process to make sure that we have public involvement.
Yeah, and I think getting this is the most people that we've had attend a workshop in a while. Usually workshops are not this full. The regular meeting is where it gets a little bit more full, so we can do some pulse quizzes here if we want, but I go back to the 20-year strategic plan that we just adopted. We had the public forums, we had the surveys, we had the focus groups, and we're now updating our comprehensive plan based off of that, and the feedback was to keep rural Manvel rural, and anybody that's back here can sell their land if they want. It just has to be one home per 1 acre. And if you want to reduce that, then it requires us as the elected body to change that. So there's nothing that's stopping people from selling their land if you find the right buyer. And there's a lot of buyers out there, developers out there right now that want to do the rural style lots because there's becoming more and more of a market for the homesteading type style. We have somebody that's talking to us about a property further to the east, somebody that wants to do something like that south of Highway 6. That's just not the KB Homes product, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's not your niche, and you guys don't do that. Before we kind of, I'm going to have Mr. Jimmy Del Bello come forward if he would like, but before we do that, Lydia, any questions for Mr. Ryan? As mayor for the day?
I just think it's important. I just think it's important to consider the people that live over there, because I think they like how it feels. Like
And you live over there,
I
correct?
do. I live like right there. Like I live on Cemetery Road. So I love my neighborhood. I love going in and not seeing like anybody. I love kind of being isolated. And with all the construction going on like Lewis Lane, I already hate it. Like I hate just like all the trucks and the workers. I kind of like being able to go on a road that I can fit on. So that's my only thing, is I really like the area, and I like the area of Manvel.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, our general offsites and infrastructure work usually will benefit, such as drainage and other things, and look to complement the area. And it don't, you know, at only 100 or so lots, I would think the traffic impacts would be minimal, but we'll follow whatever the analysis says.
Absolutely. Any other comments or questions from
I just have
let's go Councilman Hudson first, and then Mayor Pro Tem for you next.
Yeah, I would just like to see a traffic survey, how it would affect some of the citizens there, and how y'all would work it out. And I'm not for stopping somebody from selling their land or anything. I'd just like to see a survey to keep it rolling. Yeah.
Understood.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I like your comment, Mayor, about the strategic plan that we adopted. I'm wondering if the people who did participate in that, our community members, what percentage of them were the ones that were going to be up to sell their land, and the ones that lived in these areas that would directly be impacted. Initially, again, like I mentioned, looking at this, I thought, man, I really don't want another subdivision on this side of town. That's the reality. A lot of people want to keep, old Manvel rural, and which is where those beautiful 1 acre lots come in. However, man, as a conservative, I really hate trying to tell a homeowner or a landowner, well, sorry, you can't sell your land because it doesn't fit with what the city's plans are. And that's kind of where my heart is torn, is thinking about the future of our residents and our city when we're all long gone. What is left here? What's the legacy that's left here? And unfortunately, I would hate to see them not be able to sell and not do anything with it. And then later on, it will get sold. At some point, it is going to get sold. So whether it's now 10, 15, 20 years, I would just love to find something that meets everybody's needs as best as possible. And I think, again, Mayor's point is this is the first way to do it. So my heart's struggling a little bit because obviously, we want to keep, and I live in a subdivision. I was brought to Manvel to live at Lakeland. A few of us live there. And we love it, we love the ease, and I love riding my bike through rural Manvel. But I think that partnering with the right product is what's key.
Right.
I think that's huge. But again, to Mayor's point, I would love to hear from the family since they are here, and this is a workshop. Since Mrs. Palmer mentioned that some of them are here, so I'd love to hear from them.
Yep.
If you're okay with that.
Absolutely. So, how long have you lived in the city was one of the questions in the strategic plan. 53% said 1 to 5 years. 23% of the respondents said that they've lived in the city for more than 20 years.
How many total?
I don't know if it said that number right off the top there.
Because the percentage of 50 matters.
It was.
The percentage of 1,000 matters.
Yeah, I don't see that number right off the top. But the survey was sent out, and we received responses from over 700 people. I know that. Some of the shared concerns that people had during these different focus groups, surveys, et cetera, was traffic, safety, anonymous cookie-cutter suburban development, detached, disengaged residents, inadequate, underfunded infrastructure, loss of rural heritage and small-town feel, lack of community identity, cohesion, and a sense of belonging, decreasing housing affordability and options, and then keeping urban Houston at a comfortable arm's length were some of the concerns that
Yeah.
were shared there. So those are things for us to keep in mind, because we've spent a good amount of money and a lot of effort on this process.
Yeah.
And that's really this is our guiding document. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. But thank you, Ryan. Thank you for being here. Thank you for answering our questions. Mr. Jimmy, would you like to come forward, sir? Thank you very much. All right, come on. So, Mr. Jimmy, kind of talk to us about some of the property, because I know that there's, I guess, some family members that live on the property that might be forced to move. I know we have a lot of your surrounding neighbors here. I've heard from some of them are not happy with this property potentially being sold and developed. And so I kind of want to get a sense from you about what's going on and a little bit of the history here.
Well, I'm not happy that Manvel's growing either. If you look at all us old timers, I've been here 77 years. And right now, y'all probably going to impact me because y'all probably going to use Del Bella Boulevard. I've been dead-end street for a long time, but you're going to put traffic in front of my house. You're going to take right away from my house, and even though you're going to pay for right away, you're not going to make up what the loss of the value of the home is when you do that. And right now, you're putting the family, we've tried to sell this place for many years. And it's not just something recently. This is the first time it's getting close to getting on contract. And Danny Dalmelin, he lives right across the street on Dalmelin from the proposed subdivision. And I know you want to especially check the drainage, make sure that's done. I see that. I see the possibility of how maybe upgrading the roadway some. And the drainage, I think, I guess the drainage district takes care of that and makes sure it's going to work. And it worked, like they pointed out, over in Pomona, where they widened Mustang Bio all in the subdivision. And coming in the subdivision, it wasn't widened, and going out, it wasn't widened. So that it shouldn't impact, should be a good solution, I would think, without having to maybe take an inordinate amount of property to put a retention pond in. Thinking at a point in time, the use of retention ponds is going to get to the point in time we're going to look like it's a moonscape. You're going to get up in a plane, you're going to see ponds all over the place, and I don't know if they've been a solution or not on the retention ponds, or if it's just been something let's try. So we're trying to sell it. I know a lot of people that would like to sell their property, and we're limited to the people who's going to buy it, I think. So I just want the family, I'm sure, would like to have a fair assessment of what we're trying to do over there. I know there's no concerns about we're over 70. All of us almost over 70. A lot of them have financial issues. A lot of them have medical issues which come with financial issues. So this is one way to take care of them. Right now, we have to have around 14 or 15 signatures. If you don't think that's hard to get 14 or 15 people to agree to sell something, it's taken us a long time to do that. So, and like I said, if you have a public hearing and you got people living around there, it's an automatic no. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. They're going to say, no, we don't want them there. And that's going to put a real big burden on the sale of that property, unless we can find a rancher that wanted to do it or something like that. And just keep an open mind. History of that piece of property was my grandfather gave it to his kids, and it was 1/5 to each, undivided. And the shape of the property is we can't divide it and try and sell it, the private property, because of the road access and stuff that would get in there. So that's a limitation on selling it. So I think the way, some comments I've heard, the only way we're going to be able to sell that land is if we get a rancher. And I would like the fair opportunity for y'all to consider, meet the needs of the community with roads and drainage, and not put, and I think all y'all would agree that if y'all lived over there on an acre or two and someone's going to come over there with 60-foot lots, everybody over there is going to say no. That we didn't want, they've probably got people that Lakeland said no. We got people that probably if y'all put that criteria on there, I don't know if that's a criteria that I want to be able to see that open land. Is that a criteria that the city has? You got ordinances and you got zoning, and if they meet the ordinance and zoning, hopefully you wouldn't put additional restrictions for a person. Go with your ordinances and zonings. If you don't like the ordinances and zoning, you'll need to go ahead and change them. But I think the point in time that if that's what I can't see 1 acre of property over there and be a financial success, because you're gonna take a lot of land up for that drainage situation over there for sure. So I don't know if the layout would allow for the 1 acre lot situation either. So.
Mr. Jimmy, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you for being here. Thank you for calling Manvel home for 77 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware the city's going through a history collection process right now where we're interviewing. I don't know if you've been interviewed yet, but we'd love to.
No, my wife has.
Your wife has, okay. All right, so we'd love to try to maybe get you in there as well to capture those stories.
Right.
One question I have for you, Mr. Jimmy, is you mentioned that there needs to be 14 to 15 people that sign on to sell this land. Have all of those people signed on to sell
Yes.
this to
This
KP?
is the first time they've signed on.
Okay.
That's the history of it. We've been trying to sell it, and there's been holdouts here and there, but this is the first time we've got all the signatures.
Okay, I'm seeing some shrugs in the crowd. Is that the case that all 14 to 15 people have signed on?
Real estate agent, all 15 are in the process of signing now.
In
Oh, okay. I thought all.
the process.
We had them all signed. We had them all signed for sure
Okay.
a month or so ago.
Okay.
And then they came back. We had to re-sign. They're not all signed?
Wait, no, well, Mandy has to take it to Leah, Nancy, and.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there's still, I'm hearing maybe 6 that haven't signed yet.
There's 4 who haven't signed because 4 signed by hand. The others are DocuSign. Mandy has it because she helps me to
Okay.
orchestrate the other 4 signatures.
But that signatures were there a month ago till there was some, I guess maybe the developers thought there was going to be too many issues to make it feasible for them. And so then they came back and said they want to try it again.
Okay.
So, but do they all of them agreed though, right?
Not right now?
So.
Yeah.
So has everyone agreed and you're in the process of getting physical signatures, but there's an agreement between all 15 that you guys will sell it?
It was a month ago.
Okay, so as of
We're
today,
redoing
everyone
the
is still
signatures.
yes?
We're redoing the signatures right now.
Okay, but the question is, as of today, all 15 have agreed that this is the time to sell?
I don't know.
One person in the back is shaking their head saying
Okay,
no.
I
So I
can't
think,
see it.
yeah, I think that may be a
Okay.
family thing to figure
Just
out.
wanted to know because that's huge. If
huge.
they don't agree to sell, then we shouldn't even be.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they'll have to get that squared
Yeah.
away as a family.
that can be overcome, that not all of them agree, but yeah.
Well, I think Mr.
This
Jimmy,
is the first time we got all the signatures.
and I think Mr. Jimmy, you said it, you recognize yourself some of the challenges, the desire to see parts of Manvel remain more rural. And not everyone in the past has agreed with that, but there's a council here now that desires to see that. For me, the Masters and Scott intersection, not having a traffic light is a deal killer for me. And not improving Scott Street is another deal killer. My family and I, we have benefited from a subdivision. We live in a subdivision. We're looking to buy some land now. I wouldn't have been able to move to Manvel to raise my kids here if I didn't have a subdivision to move into. So I understand the desire to, as well, to see subdivisions built to afford the opportunity, like my family is having, to raise their kids here. But I've also seen the impacts on some of those roads I mentioned, like Tankersley and Dogwood, from traffic. And I would expect the same thing to happen on Scott and in Dalmelin Road right there too. So I think if KB is not able to address those two aspects for me personally, that's something that and rezoning to a smaller allowable lot size is not something that I personally can be in support of. And as you mentioned, sir, you recognize that there too. But I appreciate you sharing some of
Is that the
things.
requirement for all the subdivisions that's coming in here?
Yeah, all subdivisions
All of
have to improve streets, yes, sir. And we're looking to be more strict with that because we've seen subdivisions that it's been more loosey-goosey in the past, and we are witnessing firsthand, in real time, the negative repercussions of that. So yes, a developer is required to improve or escrow the funds to improve all of the roads that border their property and to do a traffic impact analysis. Yes, sir.
My thoughts of that subdivision, I wouldn't have thought 65 acres, 140 homes on 65 acres. Like I said, when y'all have that public hearing, everyone's going to say no. They don't want that subdivision there. It's just common sense. It's no ifs, ands, and buts. It's going to say no. Thank you.
Well, 1 second, Mr. Jimmy. I want to open it up to the rest of council to see. I know Mayor Pro Tem, you had asked Mr. Jimmy to come forward. Do you have any questions for him?
No, I am, again, my heart's kind of stuck in the middle because I hate telling a family you can't sell your land, especially at the age you've invested your time. Your love is in the roots of the city that we've moved to recently. You know, your history and your legacy is here. And so to hear it come from you, that you guys need to sell this land, it burdens me a little bit to hear that because I would hate to be in that situation. And not be able to sell my land because of city ordinances or the strategic plan. However, sitting here on council, I also have to, understand that that's my job also, is to think both sides, right? Think about the people who voted us in and also what the future of the city is. So my heart is torn, obviously, but I'm not going to say I'm against it, and I can't say I'm for it right now. I think that there's still many questions that need to be answered before we can decide, or at least I can get a vote on that.
Well, I guarantee you the Del Bello or Dalmelin families, just because we've been here 77 years, we don't expect anything out of the ordinary.
Well,
We just want to be treated like ordinary people. That's all. We're not asking for anything special from the council. Just give us honest consideration.
I mean, at the end of the day, when I look at this logically and I think of, all the other businesses that have come to us to propose coming, and we've set these stringent requirements, and if they choose to meet them, then they've done their job. And also what I would be looking at is, are they willing to do what we're asking? But then on the other side, how many people truly oppose this, right? I do think that the voice of a Manvel resident is a very loud voice. I also think that we do have to consider the people that would be impacted directly around there. But I also want to think that those people may be inclined to sell their property one day too. So we're in a pickle because the growth and the development is coming, whether it's today or in 10 years. I'm kind of stuck in between that. personally, I would hate to be the one to tell you guys you can't sell your land or block you guys from that.
No. Well, basically, like I said, if it's the restrictions that will be on this development with this, it's going to have to be a rancher. You're going to have to buy the whole thing. And that's the only way I see it.
Council, any other questions or comments for Mr. Jimmy while we got him up here? Mr. Jimmy, if I may ask you kind of side topic here, what's one of your favorite memories from growing up in Manvel?
Well, I was one of the newborns, very few newborns, back in 1947. And we had a lot of oil derricks in Manvel, many oil derricks. They don't have them now because they have the mobile units. And my aunt had to come up about halfway up an oil derrick when I was about 6 years old and guide me back down to the oil derrick. And then the other time was the with the Dalmlin land that we're talking about. They had to get a search party because I walked down Mustang Bayou and was over there by that old bridge when they finally found me. So that's memories I have.
And that bridge is still there today, correct?
I don't know if that's the one in 1947.
Okay.
I don't know. It might have been some improvements. I don't know. Then I got another memory. I don't remember it, but I've got a picture of it with me sitting on a 14-foot alligator where they killed an alligator in Mustang Bayou over there, pretty close where Almost Heaven. So a lot of things happen.
A lot of things, yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Jimmy.
Yeah, thanks.
Dan, is there anything specific that you're looking for from council tonight? Is there anything specific that you're looking for from council tonight? Is there any specific direction that we need to provide you guys, or does this help? Is it clear as mud?
On this topic specifically, or well, I think really this was more for the potential buyer, so he can see kind of what he's up against. It sounds like there's some, some willingness or some desire to sell the property, but they're not crazy maybe about what's going to go there. So they probably need to make that a condition, I would think, of if they're going to sell it or not, because this might not even come to us. So I don't know that staff needs any direction. We'll process whatever they decide to submit. We've got procedures in place and everything to go. At one point in time, they were thinking about just the idea of adding on to an existing mud. I'm glad now if they do this, then they're talking about having their own mud, which I think is wise. We haven't. I don't think any of us have created a new mud. It's been a few years, hasn't it, Tammy, since we had a new mud in city. So, but no direction. I think we all heard the same message loud and clear tonight. But if we're going to go on to another topic, I did want to recognize that Lisette's here tonight. So.
Yeah, and so real quick, just for the community, Ryan, just so you have a lot of the surrounding property owners here, so I would encourage you to take some time with them, talk with them. If you're willing to subject yourself to that, out in the lobby, I would ask if that happens, everyone be nice to Ryan, share your thoughts and concerns. Also, if there is the formation of a MUD or a formal rezoning request, I believe there is a public notice that is sent out legally that's required, Dan, within a certain amount of feet that people were required to mail them to let them know, so that way we're fully transparent. Is that correct? Okay. 200 feet. So if you live within 200 feet, which there's quite a few property owners that do, you would get a formal notice if there's a request that comes from KB or whoever to go and do a rezoning of the property. All right, Council, any other comments or questions? Councilman Lance?
It is now currently zoned 1 acre lots, correct? Yeah. So it's, being a lover of the rural side, because that's the side that I live on, I really feel bad that the one prospective buyer that y'all have has come up with 60-foot lots. I wish there was a buyer out there, and there should be a buyer out there that's able to do 1 acre lots, nice homes. There's 3 beautiful homes, I think 3, maybe 4 beautiful homes right there on Scott Street that are just now being finished up. And back in the day when they built those homes, that guy that had that land He's like, okay, I have to subdivide in 1 acre lots and build nice homes. That's what he did. I think the same thing could be done here at the end of the Scott Street. It would reduce the traffic. It would make a beautiful subdivision. 1 acre lots, you can do well and septic. Saves a lot of money on infrastructure. I think the pencil needs to be put to the paper a little bit more. Maybe a different developer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, Dan, I believe there's somebody that you'd like to, now more ceremonious.
Yes, for sure. As you know, Elaine Graham retired at the end of the year, and so we've gone through the process of finding, someone to not only replace the position that she left, but take it to another level. And so I'm excited to say Lisette Rubio is here tonight. If you want to come up, Lisette, just kind of introduce yourself.
You have that speech prepared, Matt.
She does. She does.
How much do y'all have? Hi, my name's Lisette. I'm the executive assistant to Dan. I've been in local government for 8+ years, so I'm looking forward to working with y'all and just learning the inner city works of Manvel. So thank y'all for y'all's time.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you. Anything else, Dan, or are we good?
That was the main thing. So she, most recently, she was an executive assistant for the fire chief in Pearland. And so just the fire department had 180 people. And so she was fired up and ready to go today. Like, we have less than 180 people total staff, right? So she said, do you need me to do timesheets? Nope. Do you need me to do this? Wow, this is fantastic. So, yeah.
That's great. So we got the executive assistant now. We're expanding our legal office, which is great. Excited about that, and just onwards and upwards. Good deal. Well, council, let's take about a 5-minute recess here, if you guys are good with that, and then we'll step into the regular meeting. Thanks. Take that from the co-mayor for the day. All right. So I'd like to officially call the City Council regular meeting to order here at 6:05 p.m. We have 6 of 7 members present. And as you can tell, this is not Councilman Oplager. This is actually our co-mayor for the day, Lydia Kennard. Lydia and I met, and the first thing that she said is, one day I'm going to be the mayor of Manvel. So working with staff, we came up with the great idea of having her be co-mayor for the day. And so now Ms. Kennard, or our co-mayor, Mayor Kennard, is going to lead us in the invocation, the inspirational reading, and the pledges. So, Mayor, you got to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so my inspirational quote.
Prayer first.
Oh, prayer. Bow your heads, please. Dearly Father, I just want to pray to you today and just thank you for getting all these amazing people together and blessing me with the day that I can just become co-mayor and live out my dream a little bit before I can live it out when I'm older. I just want to thank Mayor and just thank you for giving me such a blessed community, and I love you so much. Amen.
Amen. Inspirational.
And then my inspirational quote is, try not to become a man of success, rather a man of value. Albert Einstein.
That's good. And then next we have, no, keep it. We got to do the pledges next.
Stand.
Yeah, ask everyone to stand.
Stand, please.
For the what?
The Pledge of Allegiance.
There you go. All right, start us off.
Pledge of allegiance of the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Into the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Good job. All right, so now we have a few presentations. So, Mayor, if you can join me in the front, please. Let's unplug this real quick. Give us 1 second here. We're going to grab the microphone. So as mayor for the day, anytime that you become the mayor, we actually have to swear you into office, okay? So I'm going to have you repeat this oath after me, and then we're going to get you to sign it, and then we can take a photo. How's that sound? Now this, just so you know, when you swear this oath, this is going to carry all the way until October 1st. So you're going to have to be at every single meeting. Okay? I'm kidding. All right, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of student mayor for the day of the city of Manvel of the state of Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, and the charter and ordinances of this city. So help me God. Congratulations. Round of applause. Grab this one. Got it. All right, so now we need you to formally sign it, or else it's not official. So let's get you to put your signature right there. There you go. Awesome. All right, and then we'll take a photo, and then we'll let you head back with your family here. She's got to grab her stuff real quick. All right, so council, if you guys will join me around here in the front, we have 2 other presentations to give tonight. Come on, guys, come on. Don't be shy, don't be shy. All right, so the next presentation that we have is actually in recognition of our Manvel Municipal Court judges and staff. Now, I think staff went home. They've had a very long day, so we weren't going to ask them to stay late. We'll have you guys come up in 1 second here because we're going to have you do a catwalk. We'll announce each of you at a time. But our court achieved a specific honor. They received the honorable mention in the 2024 Traffic Safety Award with TMCEC. And I'll have our judges share with you a little bit about that, but it is a very prestigious honor. So first, we have Judge Catherine Samad. Judge, if you want to come forward, do your catwalk.
I will say also, we also won this year, 2025.
Oh, 2025 too. Great. That's awesome. Well, there you go. Thank you for all your work, Judge. And our other judge that we have here tonight is going to be Judge Pat Monks. He is great. He dresses up. Both of them are always very involved in our trunk or treat event that our municipal court puts on. So Judge Simon, if you could tell us a little bit about what this recognition is and why it's so important.
Sure. So this is about community outreach on traffic safety initiatives. So breaking that down, we're kind of reaching out to the community and just teaching about traffic safety. For example, our illustrious Judge Monks dressed up as, were you Santa Claus? I can't remember. Oh, you had the wig. Okay, so he was a 1895 judge. And he did traffic bingo. So he asked traffic questions pertaining to DUIs, DWIs, and then people would get bingo based on the answers, of course. You guys know the drill, right? It was so fun. Also, our city sponsors, or our court, I think, sponsors the trunk or treat along with the city. And that also, we do things at that time for traffic safety. And even more importantly, you guys may or may not know, I'm sure you do, because Mayor has been so supportive of us and the city council, and we thank you guys so much. Nice to see you. Our teen court is #1 in the state of Texas. That's a big deal. They went up against Georgetown and some really solid, big cities, and we won #1 in the state, and that's a big deal. And I'm just so thrilled. We have competition coming up, and the most important thing is the kids feel great that they left it all out there. So we're just hoping they do great. And so we appreciate your support, the city council, and the police have been great, everybody. And I'm going to just let him say a couple words.
Yes, I've got a comment on Catherine's leadership. It's been fantastic. I was at the last award that we had. We got honorable mentioned, and I thought honorable mention, well, it's award. And then the president of the TMECE, he was a judge at the teen court day. And I was walking up, said, "This is Manvel." And I said, "They're the winners." He went off, and he bragged about us. And I kind of made me feel good, because Alvin was sitting next to us. And they always get an award. I came back, kind of high-fiving. But, yeah, I have to comment on Catherine's leadership. She's done a lot to turn the court around over the last couple of years, and I'm really proud to be working here. And, we've got a proposed new jail, coming, and that's going to be an opportunity, and so we're looking forward to that. No. What I'm saying is right now we're having to use Alvin's jail. And, we're doing the best we can, but we're real proud of it as this city grows, and it will grow. But I tell you what, you've got excellent leadership, and I love working with Catherine. And we have another judge, Said. He's out of town. That's the only reason he's not here. But thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all recognizing.
Well, it's our privilege. We appreciate you guys and what the clerks do and the entire team. Many times when people show up to court, it's not because they're happy to be there or they even want to be there. It's because our police department does such a great job, right, Chief? Captain Chris Day there. But you guys make it a much more pleasant experience, and you really work. You're strict to the law. You're not. My term for tonight is loosey-goosey. You're not loosey-goosey with it. But you do it the right way, and we appreciate your service to the community, and we wanted to publicly recognize you guys tonight. So we're going to take a photo together real quick, and we'll let you guys back to your seat.
Everybody in between the two middle plates.
Okay.
All right. Right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Lots of filters.
Yes.
We're just to
Wrap everything.
Stop smiling.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I've got to start now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Such an honor.
Councilman Bonner. No, we have one more, guys. One more. You're not going to escape that easy. So we have one final proclamation here, and this is for Theater in Our School Months. In our schools month, not months, singular. And so we have a few students from our high school here and that do theater at the high school. So if y'all want to come forward real quick, and I believe you have a teacher involved here too. If you want to come forward as well, come on up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this proclamation that we have for you guys, and then I prepped you guys, so hopefully one of you are ready to give us a speech. Okay? You guys are ready? All right. All right, so we have this proclamation, and it says, whereas the arts are a vital part of the educational experience, fostering creativity, collaboration, and critical thinking among students. And whereas the International Thespian Society, an affiliate of the Educational Theater Association, is an esteemed honor society that recognizes high school students who have made significant contributions to theater education. And whereas the Texas Thespians chapter of the International Thespian Society, try saying that 3 times fast, provides invaluable opportunities for students to engage in community service, artistic expression, and leadership development. And whereas the students of Manvel High School, under the leadership of the thespian officer Madeline Schaefer, are working to raise awareness about the positive impact of theater education and to advocate for greater support for the arts in schools. Whereas research shows that participation in the arts enhances academic achievement, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills, with students who take multiple years of arts courses demonstrating higher SAT scores and academic performance. And whereas March has been designated as Theater in Our Schools Month, a national initiative to celebrate and promote the importance of theater education and its numerous benefits for students in Texas and across the country. Now, therefore, I, Dan Davis, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Manvel, Texas, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Theater in Schools Month in the city of Manvel, Texas. And I encourage all citizens, students, educators, and community members to support and celebrate the arts in our schools and to recognize the vital role that theater plays in the development of well-rounded, successful individuals. So congratulations, y'all. Thank you for what you guys do in serving the community and putting on the performances that you do. My youngest brother was in theater, and he's not here, so I can embarrass him. He used to love watching that show, How I Met Your Mother. And every single day, his senior year of high school, I think he regrets this, but kind of likes it, he wore a suit every single day. To high school. He was the epitome of what we would call the theater kid, but he loved it. When he went to college, he was involved in theater and stand-up comedy, and he formed a tight-knit group of friends that he's still friends with to this day. And so it's really the bonds of theater and your love for performance that ties you together. We're excited to celebrate you guys. So which one of you is going to say a few words? All of us. All of you? All right. Let's try to keep it short, okay? It's about 30 seconds apiece, okay?
So as stated, Theater in Our Schools Month is a national campaign to help education within our high school students.
Theater in Our Schools Month is very important to us because schools need a place where they can be themselves and meet incredible friends like I've met all of you, and to grow in a person.
All the wonderful shows we have done, we've done Puffs, Little Mermaid, and now we're working on a one-act play called The Drowning Girls. You should come watch it on Tuesday. And it's just really fun to be able to work with all these people.
We hope with this proclamation that we're able to share the love of theater with more of the school. You want to say anything?
Yes, you have to.
Thank you so much.
So I believe this Wednesday night you guys have a showing that you're doing. What time is it at?
It's next.
Oh, next Wednesday.
So this Wednesday, we're going to do Wicked Wednesday. You can come to Manvel High School in the Black Box, and we're going to watch Wicked for 3 o'clock to 5.
And then our one-act play performance, our public performance for the community is next Tuesday, the 11th at 7 p.m. in the Manvel Auditorium.
That's great, and we'll make sure to share that out on social media, and we'll put the word out there. So let's take a photo real quick, and then we'll get you guys on your way.
A couple of years.
Healthy in my life. All right, right here. 1, 2, 3, and then
2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Let us know. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all. All right, council, that's it.
Okay, we're going to get things resituated here. We also have the principal of our high school, Principal Jamie Baldwin, that's here. Thank you for being here tonight, ma'am.
Me too. Abby's a big theater nerd, so we love that.
All right. Could you guys hand me that agenda right there? Slide that down. I was looking for that. Thank you. All right. We will now continue on with our agenda. Co-Mayor, how did we do? We did good with the presentations? All right, good. So next we have public comments. We have one that is signed up to speak. As it goes, whenever I call your name, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and then you have 3 minutes to speak. And we have Catherine Dukeman. Kat, thank you for being here tonight. Welcome.
Oh, good. We have the timer today.
Yes, we got it for you.
Thanks. My name's Kat Dukeman. I live at 6802 Mississippi. I came because we didn't know that the DeBello's Demlins were still trying to sell that half of their property off of Scott. We still have drainage issues over off of Mississippi and Crestridge, and we've been trying to get that done for the past 3 or 4 years, talking with City Manager Dan about possible solutions. And with the drainage district, I feel that if we let another subdivision come over there, that's just going to completely draw all the water on us that we already have. Half of our backyard is always soaked when it rains. I just feel like, there has to be some other solution. There are other family members that own the other side that could possibly buy them out. I just feel like all the options have not been done. I feel like there should be a little bit more due diligence. I get that maybe it does pull on your heart when it sucks that, some families having trouble and financially would like to sell, but it's just thinking about the greater part of it. With having a public hearing, I know a lot of my neighbors would come out and say no to this. So like we have talked about, keeping the side rural and allowing more subdivisions to go on the other side, for me is definitely a no, because it would personally affect me, and we plan to be here for a long time, so we don't see ourselves going anywhere. And just wanted to say that because of the presentation that we had today. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kat. Appreciate you being here. Next, we have our city manager update. Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. Just two things tonight. The first one, I just wanted to give you a very brief update on our streets project. With the CO from 2024, there was $10 million set aside for additional street projects, sidewalks, and those kind of things. So the first phase, we are down to the two final roads, which are, of course, Scopell and Belcher. Those are the two biggest projects, of course, Scopell being almost 3 miles and Belcher being almost about 1.5 miles. So I think we decided Scopell was going to be this week, and then, of course, here's the rain again. So it sounds like next week, Robbie, is that right? But in the meantime, they've started working on the priority 2 roads as well. There are almost 20 roads in priority 2 that council approved. Most of those are more repairs, not necessarily overlays, but those are all over the city. So in the meantime, we're working on the phase 3 or the priority 3 components, which right now we're up to about 21 different projects. We've got costs for 11 of them, and so we're at just a little bit under $3 million for different sidewalk projects, traffic signal projects, and those kind of things. So once we have exhausted this list, and that's what we want to bring back to you, so that we can, I still suspect that we're going to have more projects than we do money, of course. So that's what we'll have to talk about, prioritizing these. But anyway, I just want to let you know we are still working on those. And then another exciting thing, I asked Chief to talk about this because this is something that he and his team put together. Fortunately, I was able to show Harry before he left on his cruise. So Harry has seen this, but we got to give some credit to Harry for helping us with the concept, I guess, maybe.
Good evening, council. This is something that Councilman Oplinger's been talking with us for quite some time now, I guess. And after my presentation on the Tuesday night meeting, the following Monday we had a meeting with him. I kind of gave him some information on what we've been working on and what we've been trying to do. His biggest concern was getting the information out educational-wise as to what needs to be done to register your alarm permits. And so what we did is we came up with this little pamphlet, and it actually, the QR code works. It'll take you to the MyGov system to where you can register your alarm. There's still some logistics we're working out with it before we really go full bore with it, but what the officers are going to do when they respond to alarms that aren't registered, they'll be carrying these pamphlets with them. They'll meet with the homeowners or the commercial business, whichever it affects. Give them the information. They're also going to have registration registration packets that explain the ordinance and what they need to do to register their alarms and how they go to do that. Our goal is to try to get compliance and try to get. I'm trying to get this out full blast on April 1st, so we can have about a 6-month through April to October to see if we can start getting compliance and better compliance on registration of our alarm permits.
Awesome, thank you guys. 2 quick questions for the P2 roads. When are we projecting the completion for those? P2. Yes, sir.
By the end of this year.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Weather permitting and equipment failure.
Of course. Chief, just asking for a friend, no one in particular. What happens if you are not currently signed up for an alarm permit? Just asking for a friend. Just asking for a friend.
Well, you can relate to your friend that there are several things that the government code allows us to do. If the officers respond to an alarm call that's not registered, of course, we're going to give them the information packets, and that more or less a warning that our ordinance that you need to register your alarm. The second time, you could be actually fined up to $250 and notification that the law enforcement would not be responding to any alarms that are not registered in the city.
Great. Thank you, Chief. All right. Consent agenda. Any comments or questions about the consent agenda, Council? Hearing none, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion from Councilman Bonner. Do I have a second?
A second.
We have a second from Councilman Perry. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously 6-0. Council, with your consent, I'd like to quickly move up agenda item number 6. This is regarding the vending license and agreement. You guys good with that?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so we'll move up number 6. I'll read this out, and then Dan, Bobby, turn this over to you guys. This is consideration and possible action to approve a vending license and indemnity agreement between the City of Manvel and Texas Hometown Heroes THH Vending. And I believe that we have the people that would be providing the vending machine here as well.
Allow me. I know, speaking on behalf of myself and a lot of staff, we've not had any vending availability for the citizens here at City Hall. People come and spend several amounts of time here at Council, Municipal Court, stuff like that. And the mayor had passed along interest from Texas Hometown Heroes, or they go under THH Vending, which involves a vending machine company providing Colin, who they said has got has autism, but has learned a lot of skills by working in summer internships through the HEART program at the Houston Food Bank. And they were wondering about the availability to put vending machines here at City Hall. We think it would be a great benefit, and for us, not only as the employees, but also the citizenry. And it would allow this company and the support of Colin to have a job and to stock the vending machines, and it could be a win-win deal. So the mayor was able to get some details. We put together a simple vending license and indemnity agreement. I think we have everything we need, other than their insurance needs to list the City of Manvel as an additional insured, which they should be able to add to their policy without any additional cost, I think, which protects the city. But otherwise, I think we're kind of good to go. They would have to work out the number of machines, the placement of the machines and stuff like that with the city manager or his designee. So there's some flexibility to kind of see where they would best go here in the lobby. But it's something that we support, and the document is up on the agenda for approval.
Awesome. Thank you, Bobby. Would one of you guys like to come forward and say a few words? And thank you guys for being here tonight. So if you could introduce yourselves for us and tell us a little bit about how you got started doing this.
Okay, I'm Erin Fleischer. This is Rob, and this is Colin. Can you say hi? Yeah. So Colin has autism. He is nonverbal. He found his love of doing vending machines. So when he got out of school, all he wanted to do was vending machines. So we started a very small vending company to be able to provide work for him to do. You know, and because a lot of kids will go out and they'd work in grocery stores or fast food, and he wanted nothing to do with that. So we had to provide job opportunity for him, and we're staying very small. We only have 10 machines. We have 8 out right now, and then we'll be adding, we have 2 more to place. And so we're just trying to, what do you have? This is, he talks on his iPad.
Yes.
Yes, we will. We have, we actually have 2. We had one down Terry Vaughn, which they closed and merged with the Montron in Texas City, and then the Explorer is now Blue Compass RV. We have some there as well. So it's going to be very convenient for us to come over here and do all of that. And so we're excited for the opportunity. We thank y'all for considering adding to his jobs.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. Council, do you guys have any comments or questions for Colin and his family? We'll go Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilman Lands.
I just want to congratulate you for adapting and finding something that he loves because, again, like you said, most will go to grocery stores and just find something, but you guys are adapting what you're doing to what he loves, and he's being efficient, it seems like, so congratulations
He
on
loves
that.
it.
I'm excited for that for you guys.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Lands?
Great idea that y'all have going there. Do you have a question? Have you seen, I remember I worked at a job years ago, and in the break room, they had the small tabletop vending machines. Have you seen those?
Years ago, when
Yeah,
one of
they
the
didn't make
jobs
those
I had
anymore?
had
Because I was
that.
thinking back in our break room, where it's maybe on the countertop, would be neat to have a small one for the, but just didn't know if those are still around or not anymore. But
I
they-
don't know. Ours is
Seen them now.
ours is kind of a combination machine. We have snacks on top, drinks
Yeah,
on
it's
the
the big
bottom.
ones, yeah.
So we have both. It's not as big as some of them are. It's, I guess, still, it's pretty good size, but it's not as big as a lot of them are, but it's small enough where it has, you know, we just have our snack section and our drink section, and whatever the employees want in there is what we'll put in the machine.
Sure.
So,
Well, I think Tammy's going to be requesting pink monsters, just so you guys know.
Okay.
Pink monsters. All right, thank you guys so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
y'all being
Thank
here.
you. Thank
y'all.
All right. Oh, and also Dr. Peppers too, 0 sugar. Yep, just throwing that out there. All right, so council, I will proudly make a motion to approve this vending license and indemnity agreement. Do I have a second? Okay, oh, Councilman Hudson got it. Councilman, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously 6-0. Thank you guys for reaching out to us. Staff, thank you for your work on this, and we're excited. I think the next step here will be, Dan, do you have their contact information, or will you?
Yes.
Okay, so our city manager will be reaching out to you guys, or his newly hired executive assistant will be reaching out to you guys, and we'll continue the conversation. So thank you so much. All right, council, we'll now move on to agenda item number 1. I'll read this out, and Dan, turn it over to you. Consideration and possible action to direct staff on the following: contribution to Actions Inc. of Brazoria County, participation and/or contribution to Iowa Colony for the annual Fourth Fest celebration, and Baytran membership. Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. So technically, City Council, I suppose, has given authority for expenditures up to the amount that could help with all 3 of these endeavors, but we thought it'd be best to bring these to y'all specifically because we wanted to make sure that this was, the will of council, quite frankly. So the first one we've for actions, is Bria here tonight? Yep, perfect. Bria came up and gave a great presentation not too long ago, and so we asked her for the number. I think it was Councilman Lands that asked the number specifically for Manvelites, I guess, that could benefit from the meals that that they've got a short shortfall on their annual budget. So the number right now is about 6 within the city limits. So that's about a little bit over $8,000. And so what we were going to recommend is if we wanted to do $10,000 as a contribution, for instance, to actions, that would get them to the end of this fiscal year. And then obviously we would work on something for the next year's budget. So that was the first item.
Council, any comments or questions about that? And Dan, I know we have money that is going to some other places right now, Keep Pearland Beautiful for the recycling center use. So this would be in addition to that.
It would, yeah. Initially, we were thinking that perhaps we could just move that money around, but in talking to Keep Pearland Beautiful, it sounds like their number is going to probably eat up that whole cost that we had budgeted. But because we had some lapsed salary, quite frankly, with just now filling Elaine's position, we can still, we don't need a budget amendment is the punchline, Mayor.
Council, you good with 10,000 for that? You guys fully in support of that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, we're good on that one. So what we'll do here is what would be the next step for that? Do we have to do a formal approval for that, or?
Can we double check that that's a number that works for, she's shaking her head up and down, so okay. That's good.
Well, one of the things that mayors are known for is doing big checks and issuing big checks and taking photos with the big checks. So Bria, if you want to come forward, council, we got one more photo to take. We're going to take a check, take this picture with this big old check that Tammy printed out for me here. So, and we'll take it with Bria. All right, Bria, if you want to come forward and say a few words while I wrap this up?
Absolutely. Mayor, council, city staff, just on behalf of our entire organization, I want to thank you. This will give us the ability, like Dan mentioned, to take the seniors who are in your city limits off of our waiting list pretty much effective immediately. So, and then we'll have a little there so that if anyone else ends up on that waiting list within your city limits, they should be able to roll right on services. So thank you very much. We're very proud of the partnership that we have with your city, and this is a huge blessing for us. So.
All right, well, let's take a photo. We're going to have the co-mayor join us for this photo as well. So you got to come forward for one. See, I told you guys, we got a big check. It's a big check.
I'll get you.
And right here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One more. One, 2, 3.
Rosie, is that check actually, do we, okay. Okay.
All right. Bye, co-mayor. All right. I don't think, council, that we have any other photos to take tonight. So I think we're good on that. I appreciate you guys gracing us with being able to do that. So Dan, next we have the Iowa Colony item.
Yes, sir. So last year, Iowa Colony, obviously their annual Fourth Fest celebration, they've got a pretty good facility where they can do fireworks and everything. So our staff did an amazing job last year of helping out sort of in kind. So as near as we can tell, we didn't help out financially last year. We still plan on helping out with our hands, so to speak. I think we had police out there, we had public works out there helping out, obviously Tammy. So the question tonight was, did you want to, obviously we plan to keep participating, but did council have any interest in financially contributing as well? So they've got a couple of different sponsorship levels if we wanted to. Bronze sponsorship of $1,000, $2,500 for silver, $5,000 for a gold, and $10,000 for a platinum sponsor. Again, we can get the funds figured out if that's the will of council, or if you just want to keep contributing by hands, we can do that too.
Councilman Bonner?
What does the different levels, like what does the $10,000 do as far as, is it more exposure on the big screen, or is it, what do we get for, say, the $10,000 level?
So, yes, that's exactly it. So when they do their advertisements, they list the different sponsors based off of the different levels, and then the higher levels, you get of course, last year, we weren't necessarily a monetary sponsor, but you had access to the specialized parking area, the clubhouse to watch the fireworks if you so choose, and then the meal that's up in the clubhouse as well.
I was just mainly, the clubhouse was nice, although you couldn't see, I don't think, as well as if you could have moved around, but it was nice. But the exposure for the city, I think, is where I'd like to see it grow. If we're really going to be a partner with them on this show, at some point, we need to monetarily help, because I know those fireworks aren't cheap. I know they got sponsors, but it still costs money, and the police presence, that's cost too. So, I'm for jumping in with the feet if we got it, if the money's available, or if we need to stair step it, maybe we could do 5,000 this year and 10 the next.
The question that I have, because I know we had a lot of staff that volunteered last year. Do we know the number of how many staff volunteered and what our payroll was because we paid them for those hours?
So we had pretty much the entire Public Works department out there, and I think 4 officers.
Don't know, I'd have to look back and see, but we did have several officers out there.
And then administrative staff, probably 4 of us on the administrative side. Time-wise, not sure, didn't compute that exactly. And then we funded some of the, Blake did some of the advertisement stuff. We did the flyers, we submitted those, did banners, did the porta cans in addition to, and the trash cans, stuff like that. But no, I don't know the exact cost of the time.
Because that's what I would be, Councilman, to your point, I would be curious to understand is kind of what was our total cost that we put in last year, that while it might not be necessarily a sponsorship, was that only $5,000, or was that, $20,000, $25,000? And then at that point, we can have a conversation of, do we want to go above and beyond that, which I would have no issue with doing, but we have to understand the financial implications of that, so to say.
And is the plan to do that same thing again? And are we going to have
That was
all of that again?
Yeah, it was we didn't know the cost option was an option, so it was still a plan to, we have more people, obviously, than they do, and it's going to be bigger this year because of the date that the 4th of July falls on. They're looking at making it more of a weekend event.
Okay.
What do you think, Councilman?
I'm still for going to maybe the $5,000 range right now, just to, because I didn't see that much about our name out there last year when I was walking around. I'd love to see our name mentioned more.
Well, the question I would have then to Iowa Colony would be, if we can understand the time and all of the effort and our costs associated with it, to me, if it's, let's say, $30,000, that deserves getting our name on a few things, even though it is an Iowa Colony. In my opinion, the question to them would be, would you rather have our people and resources, or would you rather have a $10,000 check? I think that they'll say they'd probably our resources, because we have a lot more people.
But I still think that should get us better recognition than I saw last year. If we had that much people working behind the scenes.
So last year being the first year, there was no formal agreement between the two cities. It was kind of a verbal. They let us share in some of their event that they had already been pre-planning for many, many months. So, yeah, you didn't see a whole lot other than on the flyers, and, of course, not knowing what our participation was going to be either. It was hard to determine out of the very expensive event that they had going on with big sponsorships of multiple people in that 10,000 plus range of donations on what our contribution would be. Still very much their event that they let us piggyback on, I guess you could say.
If you feel like, Mayor, we can, and just to be clear, Iowa Colony didn't solicit this necessarily, hey, we need your money or anything like that. I think it was sort of a blanket email that went out to several folks, and it says on their form that before May 1st is whenever they'd like to know something. So maybe let us kind of put some numbers together on what the actual contribution, the in-kind contribution was, but just wanted to kind of plant the seed to see if there's any interest at all. And it sounds like there might be if it doesn't break the bank. Would you like that? Okay, we can do that.
Sorry, I stepped out to the ladies' room. The proper ladies' room. Just kidding. It's a joke because of the restrooms over here. Anyway. Okay, so I love the idea of maybe partnering with them, and I know, we all have a great relationship with Mayor Will over there. And since, Dan, DJ, since you said this was just a blanket email that we're responding to, maybe we can reach out and see if they're even interested in co-partnering this and doing like a co-city thing. Or, since it's so far away and they're just now asking for sponsorships, has that ever been a conversation?
Well, last year was kind of that.
It was
a co-collaboration because we have a lot of residents that go there. So I don't know if you were here for the part where all of our public works was there. We had some police officers.
Well, I remember
there,
that.
Administrators that was there, and so kind of the question we had was, do we do that again plus a monetary?
But if we do the monetary commitment, what do we get in return from that?
That's what we'll have to dig.
Because for us, it didn't feel like Manvel's 4th of July.
Yeah, and like Tammy had mentioned, we just sort of kind of latched on there at the very end. I think they're in the 6-figure range on what they're spending on fireworks. So it was helpful, but it was probably a drop in the bucket on what they were spending. So
wasn't the majority of that through who was it, HLT or one of the big
Centerpoint Energy sponsored.
Yeah.
So to be continued. How about that? We'll dig in a little bit and get you better intel.
I love the idea.
I think it's a great idea, and we can tap into some of our bigger Manvel businesses and see if they'd be willing to sponsor, and that infuses it with more cash, and it's, I think, an opportunity to promote unity, and that's important. All right.
Anyway, I love the fireworks. That was phenomenal. It was beautiful.
Beautiful. The way I learned to spell beautiful was from Bruce Almighty. I could never figure out how to spell it, and then he says it was a B-E-A-beautiful day. That's how I remembered it. So I don't know why I was watching Bruce Almighty when I was that young, but I was. All right, anyways, rabbit trail, squirrel. Dan, Baytran membership.
Yes, so we heard from Baytran folks, from Amy, I guess, in last meeting, and so she talked about, if the city wanted to be a partner, it sounds like the minimum number to have a partnership with them would be the $2,500 a year. That's 50+ employees. Or we could do the sustaining partner, which is just $1,000 more, so that's $3,500, and that's where we get our logo on their website homepage. I think we get a table, preferred table position at their events, complimentary table sponsorship at their annual State of the County's luncheon, some other things. So just didn't know what your preference was again on joining that after you heard their presentation.
Anybody ever gone to their meetings from the city?
I've never been because it costs to go, and I haven't ever wanted to pay to go.
I just didn't know how far away we are from any of the actual projects. The ones they discussed weren't near us right now. They were more 610 ship channels, that area right now. I didn't know if any of the projects they're working on now or that they're even in this 45-year plan they're talking about. I think the only one might be 99 on the outer loop. That's the only one that's anywhere near us, and I don't really know how much we're going to be affected by that. So I don't trying to see what our involvement would be and how it would help us. Looking for some education here, I guess.
Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have something?
I'm just kind of confused because I understand what what they do. However, to me, I look at it like a business investment in a local chamber or another networking organization, and I always like to look at it as like, okay, here's my membership price. What do I get in return? How can this actually benefit our citizens and benefit us as employees? And I'm not really hearing the 1, 2, 3 of what we get for A, B, C, D. Mm-hmm. So if we had a strong here's what we get for this, then I would be all for it. But it just looks like a really nice packet. And so I know Amy's not here to answer that, but if we just had a little more guidance of, we recommend this partnership level because this is what the city needs and this is what we're going to get out of it, then it makes more sense. I mean, I know a lot of the people that are on these boards, and those are just personal relationships, but, different. How would that maximize our membership there? Is it something we need? Do we need it for certification? Do we need it? Like, what's the big need is my question to invest our taxpayer dollars.
Actually, I know a lot about Baytran from representing other cities back in the day, and I've been to some of their big galas and luncheons, and they're a pretty big outfit. And I think you'll find that there's a lot of federal transportation transit money coming to the area.
Okay.
A lot of consultants involved, and there's a lot of planning. And cities that want to be part of that can be part of the planning, and at some point with the eye to having some sort of transportation extension coming to their city.
Okay.
But it's kind of like it's like you're joining a large
network.
You're one cog in a large wheel. So I don't know at this point what the city's transportation plan is, if we even have a plan about extending some sort of public transportation down this far, or park and rides and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if we have that as part of our comp plan that's being developed, or that's something separate. But we're very new at this. But to tip your toe in the water would be an initial membership if this is something the city wanted to pursue.
So if we were to join in at the minimal level, who would be attending the luncheons and galas on behalf of the city? I know it says all elected officials can attend this infrastructure summit and state of the counties at no charge. So any of us could attend, representing Manvel, make some connections. But also, would that be something that DJ and yourself could attend?
I've been to them, but it's at an invite of somebody, or maybe it was an engineering firm that had a table, like they do in the chamber luncheons and the Brazoria County Economic Development luncheons, stuff like that.
When I worked for Friendswood, we were pretty involved. We went monthly to the meetings, and I think to the mayor's point, was maybe more along, in the 45 area at that particular time. So they had reached out to me before to join. I just hadn't seen anything that necessarily pertained to us, but.
The current mass transit corridor is 288, and that's handled by Houston and
TxDOT.
Brazoria County, all those groups. I don't ever hear their name mentioned with that particular corridor.
I think that's more for the highway stuff. I think Baytran might be more interested in, like metro type transportation, public transportation.
Buses is what you're talking?
That's part of what they do. And like I said, a lot of federal transit dollars come this way. All the way, Galveston was involved pretty much in it too, all the way down to Galveston. And Barry Goodman was the big name consultant that got hired to do all that. But there's a lot of planning involved for that.
And as we go through and update our thoroughfare plan, there might be opportunities to advocate to HGAC or federally. It might be maybe a little premature to join until we update our thoroughfare plan, and then bring Amy in and sit down with her and say, all right, Amy, this is our updated thoroughfare plan. If we join at a membership, what do we get specifically that you can help us advocate for? Put your thinking cap on, let us know, give us a proposal, and then at that point, we could consider joining. I know Councilman Perry, you might have something?
Well, basically that similar thing. Bobby, do you feel, based upon your experience of attending, would it afford us the opportunity, if there was something that were planned for this area, that whether it be beneficial or negative, that we would have some type of influence or input concerning whatever those plans may be, by being a member and attending?
I mean, that's kind of a chicken or the egg. If you want the transit stuff here and be part of the planning, yes, but you might not know what's available until you join. So do you join first to see what's available and how you can be part of it? Or do you want to be part of it and then plan on joining once you know you want to be part of it? And that's
Also, is there a deadline to join this, or is this open enrollment as it goes? Okay, so there isn't a pressing need for it right now. I would love to attend a couple of them and come back with some feedback. Maybe Bobby and us, or a few of us, could go to different luncheons and just kind of tip our toe in the water, as you said, and just kind of see if it's something that actually benefits us, since we don't have something pressing. It's not like we're in big need of a metro or, but I do find some interest in it, but I think it's kind of premature on my end. I mean, unless we joined at the very minimal tier, and I don't know.
So I think this is the direction that staff was kind of looking for. Like, were we gung-ho for it? Maybe we want some more information. So I think a few things. One, let's get our thoroughfare plan updated. That might drive some conversations with Amy. Dan, if we can have staff give some of this feedback to Amy, we want to know what the value add is, but maybe there's an opportunity to get some invitations or opportunities, as you said, Mayor Pro Tem, to some events, and then we can re-engage during our actual budget season once we get into the thick of that, and it gives us a milestone to hit as to yay or nay, because I think it would be good for, putting myself in Amy's shoes. She wants to know if there's going to be additional money coming through, and so I think at some point we do have to say this is when we're going to make a decision one way or another. So you guys good with that, council?
Yep.
Staff, good?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks, Shel. Agenda item number 2, what I'd love, is it possible to loop 2 and 3 together? Okay, so I'd like to loop 2 and 3 together. I'll read them out both out now. Consideration and possible action to approve ordinance 2025-0-09, and then agenda item number 3, consideration and possible action to authorize the city manager to execute change orders with Materials Tech Inc. for the Masters Road utility improvements and McCoy Road lift station consolidation project. Dan, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I'll start with the item number 2. So that's the actual budget amendment, right? So last year, whenever we were preparing our budget, the 1128, the Masters Road project, if you remember, we combined Masters Road project and the McCoy lift station project all into one and went out for one bid because they were so close to each other. Where we're running water and sewer all the way up to the police station, and then also getting rid of an old lift station that's on McCoy and bringing new sewer down Lewis. So we combined those two into one project, and the dollars for the construction budget are in the budget in the same budget line item, but we moved the engineering monies over into a different budget item. So what we're trying to do is just actually move them back so that it's easier to account for. So it's literally just a budget amendment. Did I say that right, Rosie? So it's literally just reassigning those same dollars back where they should be, so that we can track the project as one now instead of 2 separate projects. So that's part of it. But while we're there, while we have the budget amendment open, so to speak, there are a couple of change orders, 3 specifically with our contractor that is doing this project, Materials Tech. So one of them would be adding a sidewalk down Lewis Lane from McCoy all the way to the commercial tract on Terra Estates. So it would be on that'd be north side of the road. So the idea is that if you've driven down Lewis, you know that it's obviously been under construction for a while. So when they go to restore the site, let's restore it by putting a sidewalk there, instead of trying to get grass to grow and all these other things, and then here in another year we put a sidewalk on it. So it's a really great opportunity for the contractor that's out there to go ahead and do it. The dollar per foot price that they gave us is $60 per foot. We have a number in-house from other contractors that are through the buy board that are $70 a foot. So just because they're on site already, we can get $10 off per foot. I mean, that's a $20,000 savings just by having them out there. So that's part of the change order. The other is to actually connect the old police station to the sewer that we just put in. Whenever the project was done, we weren't sure what we were going to do with that. The sewer's on the other side of 1128, so they have to bore up underneath there. So it's not cheap to do it, but we think that we can really repurpose that old city hall, old police station. And so again, we've got a contractor ready to do it. And then the third one was the idea to extend the sanitary sewer. So right now it's going to go on Lewis Lane from Palmetto up to McCoy. And again, we get rid of the old lift station. We always called it the Simmerhansel lift station. It's the one there for that little mobile home park. So we actually have a little bit more distance that we can go. We can actually come down past Weeklies all the way to the first parcel on McCoy. So we could get all of them off of septic systems and force mains and whatnot, so where they'd all be on gravity. And the contractor can do that part as well. So it's three different components to one change order, and we're still under we had $3 million originally budgeted for this project. So we authorized $2 million, even with the engineering, even with all this, we're not having to move anything from anywhere else, just it's already budgeted money. So I think it's a great opportunity to seize right now if y'all are willing.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dan.
Sure.
Any comments or questions from council?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is my not knowing how those type of things work, but I have to ask so I learn.
Sure.
So what I heard you say is that we would offer with this, I guess, change order, we would be able to take everybody on McCoy all the way up to the first parcel off of septic?
Mm-hmm.
So then they would be able to use city?
Exactly. Now, it's still going to be up to them, just like the people on Lewis.
That was where I was going with that.
Exactly. So if they're on septic and they want to tie into our system, they would still have to get a plumber, because we can't go on private property and do that connection. But, you know, if you've got an older septic system, heck, I mean, Bobby's got a brand new, and he could tell, you know, the maintenance cost if a pump goes out or something, as opposed to
Yeah.
just free flowing to the cities. It will be there. It would be if.
It would be
was a-
accessible at their choice, but they're not forced to use it.
Exactly right.
Okay. Oh, good question.
It's an excellent question. So years ago in our impact fee study, the one, quite frankly, that I did for the city when I was a consultant, that was something that we worked into the impact fee study. There was a 1 page of administrative items, and that was something that council adopted, was that if you connected within the first year, then you wouldn't have to pay impact fees. Well, that was not captured in the 2021 update, so it's not technically in there anymore. As we're doing this new update, if that's something that council wants, then we need to talk about putting it back in there. So this snapshot in time.
Or hard code again.
Or hard code it, sure.
Thank you.
Can the city currently waive impact fees?
Staff can't, but the city could, sure.
Because I thought the 2017 item was still in effect, because it incentivizes people to connect, and then they're paying utility bills. Because for a single homeowner or a small business owner, you know, paying $9,000, depending on what their meter size is, it's a lot more expensive. Yeah. And so having year 1 100% waived, year 2 50% waived, while we're not forcing anyone on it, incentivizes them to do the work and connect, which is a long-term benefit to everyone. So moving forward, I'd love to see that continued. And as I know, do the community relations, and we knock on people's door, tell them now that you can connect. If anybody asks about that, I'd love to see that come before council. Good question, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other comments or questions from council?
So the only thing that's not coming from the budget amendment, like we talked about, would be the cost for that sidewalk. We would be using the $10 million monies. So this is sort of would be the first of the priority or phase 3 projects, if that makes sense. So obviously we got funds associated in there, but I just to say that out loud.
Which makes sense. I mean, if you can get it, how much savings is that $10?
About $20,000.
$20,000 savings.
Because it's about 2,000 feet. Yes, sir.
Council, do I have a motion for these 2 agenda items? I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second from Councilman Hudson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. And Dan, while you brought it up, the impact fee for 2017, just kind of while we're on that vein, was that for commercial and residential, or was that just residential homes?
What's that now? The
2017 study that you had done, was the waiving of the impact fee, was that for residential only, or was it commercial and residential?
I don't recall offhand.
The way
I'll
I
have to go
read
back
it
and
was it
look.
was residential.
You know, interestingly, we had so few people that actually took us up on it. Whenever we ran the water line down Lewis, I think we had maybe 2 people, 3 people connect. Yeah, so they were, I guess, content with their water wells.
I know there's quite a few that are excited about the sewer that's being run there, and they're excited to connect, which is good. Okay, thanks, Dan. Agenda item number 4, consideration and possible action to approve the second and final reading of ordinance 2025-0-08. Council, we're going to need to postpone this one, and Bobby, just if you can briefly share why that's the case.
We are close, very close. Chad Thurman has been tireless in getting the property owners there to get their paperwork, to Ken Phillips, who is an attorney who has a title company, who's making sure we have all the parties necessary to sign these documents are the ones signing. We've got all but one. And there's also going to be an indemnity agreement where their civic association at Wolf Air Park will indemnify the city if somebody does come up and tries to make a claim later. Ken said he was not going to be able to get the paperwork. He's going to issue an opinion letter and do the indemnity agreement. He wouldn't have it to us today, unfortunately. So we'd have to postpone this for 2 weeks. But we're very close.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bobby. Council, do I have a motion for this agenda item? We have a motion to postpone from Councilman Bonner. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Mayor Pro Tem Sarmiento. All those in favor to postpone? All those opposed? Motion to postpone passes unanimously, 6-0. Agenda item number 5, consideration and possible action to approve Resolution 2025-R-05.
I think I have to recuse myself from that.
Yes.
Yes, even though it's Center Point Gas, it's still pretty much linked.
So he's on the electric side, but still seeing.
I think they may technically be separate companies, but they may have a common parent or something like that, parent company.
Recusing myself.
That's the smart thing to do. You've seen these before. CenterPoint does rate increase filings on the gas side and the electric side. This is one for the gas side. They come to the city because we have original jurisdiction to regulate rates. And then, of course, whatever we do, they would appeal to either the Railroad Commission if it's gas or the PUC if it's electric. This is gas. We have the ability to suspend their increase for 45 days, which then, like I said, would be appealed to the Railroad Commission. And we're part of a group that does review these filings and try to work out if there's any fat or if there's anything that shouldn't be in the filing. They try to weed that out for us so we get the best possible deal for the citizens.
Awesome.
Recommend approval.
Thank you, Bobby. Any comments or questions from council? Hearing none. Councilman Lance, can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll give a motion on this one.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Councilman Lands. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second from Councilman Hudson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes in a 5-0 vote with one person abstaining. We had moved up agenda item number 6, so we'll now move on to agenda item number 7. This is consideration and possible action to authorize the city manager to submit a grant application to the Texas Department of Emergency Management and enter into any contract resulting from this grant subject to budget appropriations for a generator at the School Road Water Plant and a generator at the Maverick Water Plant. Andrew, Dan.
Mayor, so this was something we had the opportunity to talk about during the planning session, the idea of a grant application with TDM. We only have, I think, a 2-week window. Is that right, Rosie? So it's a 75-25 grant opportunity. These 2 generators are needed. The one at the School Road plant, I guess that is the original generator. The Maverick water plant is the one that we got. It's behind the high school. It doesn't have a generator. And so it's one that we've been waiting for, to maybe transfer from another facility or something. But if we could get these now, where someone else is helping out with 75% of the cost, because otherwise we're going to be buying them anyway at 100% of the cost. So we don't have exact numbers yet. We think they're somewhere in the neighborhood of about $200,000 a piece. So if it's a $400,000 altogether, then that'd be $100,000 that would come from the city. But we'll come back to you before any monies, of course, are determined. But this is just to apply for the grant itself.
Thank you, sir. Any comments or questions from council? Councilman Lance?
So is this the money, we put all the money up front, and then get a rebate, or no?
Rosie?
Yes. How long do you think that would be, for any idea?
It all depends on how fast all the paperwork is submitted. It's almost like the Hurricane Barrel. You have to submit all the paperwork, it gets approved, then it goes through the process of payment. Usually 3-4 months.
Whenever we did
Pull this from the general fund?
We would probably need to do a budget amendment. I know with the CDBG projects, when we did those, it was, we'd send them monthly invoices, and they would pretty much, it was pretty quick. Just as soon as we send them, here's your 75% back. So it's almost like a a deductible, so to speak. They're just not going to give us back 100%. They're going to give us back that 75% number. But we need to plan on fronting the cost, to answer your question.
We could always reach out to our state legislators, and they might be able to push it along a little bit faster for us too, so.
Is this the one that
Yep.
State Rep Barry helped us get?
This one and the next one.
This one and the next one? And I think that this is something we should at least say thank you for that, because for as long as I've known, it's been hard to get into these grants for us. And, you know, Mayor Dan and I have talked about this, and I believe Councilman Lands and Bonner, about looking for those opportunities to help us move Manvel forward.
Yeah, when we sat down with TDM and they sort of threw out the different ideas, different projects that would be eligible, when they mentioned generators, oh boy, that is exactly what we needed to hear. So it was very timely.
They were speaking Dan's love language and Robbie's.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
These are, and forgive me for the ignorance, but these are not in MUDs. These are
No, sir.
city-owned?
These are city-owned facilities, are two of our 3 water plants.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Yes, sir. Great question.
All right, council, do I have a motion? Councilman Perry, could you give me a motion for this agenda item?
Yeah, I motion that we move forward.
All right, we have a motion to move forward. We have a second from Councilman Bonner. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you to Representative Barry and his team for all of the hard work on that. I did let them know that these were going to be on the agenda tonight. Not sure
Oh, nice.
if they are watching, but if they are, a deep, heartfelt appreciation for them and all their work, despite what some people on social media say. There is a lot of hard work that's going in up in Austin.
And I'd say that's pretty fast. He's only been there how long?
He's moving. He's moving. Agenda item number 8. This is part 2. Consideration of possible action to authorize the city manager to submit a grant application to the Texas Department of Emergency Management and enter into any contract resulting from this grant, subject to budget appropriations for Chocolate Bayou drainage improvements. Dan.
So this would be a similar grant application, but a separate grant application, same process, same program, just a different application. This would be specifically for the areas that we talked about at the very end of the city, very southern part of the city, where Chocolate Bayou comes together, the area we affectionately refer to as no man's land. The first step would be to talk about acquiring those drainage easements. And then the next step would probably be partnering with one of the drainage districts to actually help us, whether it's de-snagging of that proportion of Chocolate Bayou, or what would actually, what could we do with it? We have the ultimate width identified in our master drainage plan for each one of those segments down there. We don't know, of course, how much these easements are going to ultimately cost just yet. It's quite possible that some folks just give the easement. It's possible that others, won't want to give it to us, and we may have to go through the acquisition route. It's about 50 different parcels that are impacted. So this is really just the first step, and we did double check with TDM to make sure that this would be an applicable project, and they said that it would. So I think we're going the drainage easement route rather than drainage right-of-way, because that would be an actual acquisition of land. Then we're going through title closings and all these other things. So this would be an easement that sits on top of folks' property instead.
Dan, a quick question for you here. On this appropriations for Chocolate Bayou drainage improvements, are there other areas that we may be looking at drainage improvements that right now, by just pigeonholing it to say Chocolate Bayou limits us over these next 2 weeks when we submit a grant? Or do we want to say Chocolate Bayou, or do we want to say just for drainage improvements?
Candidly, what I didn't want on the agenda was no man's land, so that's what we came up with, because we need to get away from that phrase.
I'm getting at, there's other areas throughout the city, not
Sure.
off of Hanselman, that we know that there might be drainage needs. And yes, we have a very tight window, but if we kind of look at things very quickly, is there additional land for sale in other areas that might help us benefit drainage for acreage folks, or other areas of town that might be helpful? That I know you guys aren't going and submitting the grant tomorrow, but if we just remove Chocolate Bayou and keep it drainage improvements, if there's any tweaks or adjustments over the next week or so before we submit, it gives us that opportunity.
Absolutely. It's perfect.
So what you're saying is just generalize it to just drainage, so it wouldn't inhibit us getting the grant for specifically where we want this money to go to, which is no man's land. But does it have to change here on the agenda or how we submit the application?
What I would do is to keep it a little bit more generic, obviously, we want the money to go after the Chocolate Bayou drainage, but let's say there's something on Mustang Bayou that we want to make improvements on.
Yeah.
Because this says just Chocolate Bayou, we can't.
Would that limit us to something on Mustang Bayou if we got the funds?
Not necessarily. I mean, again,
Okay.
this was just a way so that y'all knew what we were talking about. So I think if you just approved it to the grant application for drainage improvements, that's perfect.
Okay, I like that.
Any other comments or questions from council? No. All right, hearing none, I will make a motion to authorize the city manager to submit a grant application for drainage improvements to TDEM. Do I have a second for that? Second. We have a second from, we'll get that one to the Mayor Pro Tem. She beat you there, sir. To Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 6-0. We have 2 executive sessions, so we'll open these both up at the same time. I'll read these out. We'll step into executive session. Dan, please have anybody that we need to come back. So City Council will convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to discuss the following: Brazoria County MUD 61 Utility and Development Agreement. City Council will convene into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property to discuss the following: deliver the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. We will head into executive session at 7:16 p.m. For those of you here, I have no idea when we will be out. You guys are welcome to stay. You don't have to leave, but if you do leave, we thank you for being here. All right, council, we'll head back. Council will reconvene from executive session here at 8:17 PM, having taken no action in executive session. We'll now go on to mayor and council comments. I want to give, Robbie left, but accolades to Public Works. Somebody reached out to me about some ditch work that they had done today. They were extremely appreciative of it. They're like, our ditches haven't been touched in so long, and we saw the Public Work guys out there doing what they do best, and they were extremely appreciative, so kudos to him and his team. During our next meeting, Tammy, if we could have an agenda item just to give a recap of Brazoria County Day for Robbie attended, as well as Mayor Pro Tem, myself, and Councilman Bonner, that would be great. And that's all that I have for mayor comments. Any council comments? No. Hearing.
We adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn from Councilman Bonner. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Councilman Perry. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously 6-0. Thank you, and